Hello everyone, Flex here. Today's audio quality will not be as good as it usually is. Australia is currently on fire, and it's too hot to record without the windows open, so forgive any dogs, trucks, or raging alcoholics outside my house. Alright, on with the review. Kingdom Two Crowns is a game. An incredibly relaxed, calming and serene game about slowly building an empire out of a small village. The game is not difficult. Not difficult at all. In fact, if I didn't know better, I'd say this game was for dumb little children. It's not very difficult at all. So not difficult that I lost 3 times and then perma-alt-F4'd the game from my hard drive. Kingdom is quite the experience, so allow me to impart the stories of the various rulers of the Funk Kingdom. My first dynasty was ruled by a green Chad, and he ruled with an unknowing fist, as the game will tell you the controls, and that's about it. So off I went into the unknown, slowly learning and shaping my kingdom to my liking. I did as most kings would do. I would throw my money at all of my problems until they fixed themselves. See some wandering hobos being an eyesore? Have some doubloons, peasants. Don't like that wall made from sticks? Throw money at it and make it a bundle of sticks. Hire a few archers to go hunting by throwing money at them. Today's science still can't understand the process by which I throw money at people and they suddenly go do what I want. Me and my green boy slowly came to terms with the fact that nighttime is filled with purple homeless people, constantly trying to undo my great and divine work by stealing all of my money. In fact, coming into contact with these lower socio-economic beings doesn't kill you, it merely robs you of your capital, which is arguably worse than being robbed of your life. So in an effort to defend myself and know my enemy, I expanded my walls and explored beyond them through the day, not knowing what lay before me. Strange shrines, chests filled with money, and a dangerous-looking portal to the vagrant dimension, where everybody who died without money ends up. Now knowing my purpose as the chosen ruler of God, I return to my nascent kingdom to eternally expand my borders in pursuit of making a metric buttfuck of money, so that I can put a metric buttfuck of archers, samurai, and walls between me and the Purple Menace. After I established my kingdom, I built a boat to colonize the new world. Off I went to the next island that needed the presence of the divine. Eventually, I even liberated the stone from the earth, using my laborers and gaining the unique power to imbue the walls made of sticks with stone. I also managed to find gems, the first thing of real value since gold coins. Apparently, they're useful on shrines. And useful they were. Or at least, I hope they were. I wasn't sure what I'd done with them. No matter, my empire needed growing, and my divine guidance to make it happen. I continued to grow my land, one day at a time. The night assaults were growing worse and worse, however. Eventually, my enemies somehow managed to afford armor, a most chilling concept. And worst of all, I learnt the hard way what it means to stray too far from home and be exposed to the approaching nightfall. Safe I was for the moment, but not for long. Soon I ventured into the next island and continued my duty to bring civilization to the new world. Only for my arrogance to be the best of me. I strayed too far from my town, too close to the evening. Cut off, and with no way back without breaking through my encirclement, I attempted to charge through, only to be robbed of my money, and then my holy seat of power, losing the game. My next in line was dramatically less baller. However, he did manage to nab himself a nice mount, which allowed him to defend himself from the oncoming degenerate hordes. But in the end, he too succumbed to his own hubris when attempting to teleport outside of the walls, too close to nightfall. I'm starting to think that nighttime is the enemy and not the purple people. In the end, I decided that I must know my enemy. I must succeed where my predecessors did not. I will start anew, forging a better kingdom, with blackjack and hookers. This time with the power of knowledge granted to me by a wizened guide known as Steam. I will be successful and overcome the purple tide. My campaign began incredibly successful. Not a single day was wasted in my flourishing empire of productivity. I got every useful shrine and upgrade. I got the sacred S-tier mount. quickest mount with a basic but useful ability. I became so wealthy that I had no choice but to dab all over my subjects by dripping money all over them and forcing them to hand it back. And then I did it again. It seemed that nothing could stop me in my explosive growth of the empire. No one, except for myself. Having not learned my lesson, and risking it all without realizing I was risking anything, I tried to expand my borders as far as possible the moment night had ended. But I had failed. I had ordered my builders to run to the new front to upgrade a wall so that my men could move up. However, by the time the wall was already finished, the distance was so large and my men couldn't make it to the new front in time.
Oh no!
Eventually, due to my own hubris once again, and my attempts to expand further than I could have before, had led me to my downfall. This is simultaneously the game's greatest strength and weakness. The game is good at interpreting what you want when you spend your money on something, which is the only way to control the flow of the game. But when it doesn't work, or you assume that you know how it works, it simply won't. My last failure is the greatest example. I am incentivized to not destroy this encampment that the game had spawned, as it had been the only way to get more subjects for my kingdom. So in order to expand without destroying it, I can only expand into a clearing, and thus forcing me to skip all of the natural progression in favor of a riskier progression that would yield me access to farms past the camp without destroying it. The forest in the game is an untamed land. Wherever there is forest, you must destroy it piece by piece to reduce the forest in order to build. If I had decided to destroy the camp and expand gradually, I would have been able to continue onwards, but instead I risked it and failed. And the most insufferable part of it all is that I could have saved it all if the unit walking animations during the daytime were the same as the ones in the night. At night, your men understand that time is of the essence and will run faster, but during the day, they'll just walk. I got nothing to worry about, might as well walk, right? So they'll only run to new walls that you build, only at night. Through the day, they take so long to move that even if I expand the walls the very moment the previous night's wave ends, the builders won't complete the first wall in time for the new men to get the command to walk up to the new front line. Meaning that by the next nightfall, no one's there to defend the new wall in time. The wall will fall, and then my men will fall without having a wall to defend them. It's insufforating! It's angry! The game barely tells you anything, at all. The game will even encourage you to fuck up your game, like you're doing a good service for your empire or something. Take the Hermits, for example. There's one you can buy on Island 2, called the Rancher, or something like that. Purchasing her with gems, and then spending 1 gold to have her ride on your character, which will allow you to upgrade farms into level 2 ranches. Normally you can't do that, that's why you have to pick her up. But you don't know any of this. And to put it in perspective, ranches are functionally useless, if you know what you're doing. So to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, someone who's new, like me, a ghost will appear to tell you to upgrade your farms into ranches when you pick the Hermit up. In your head, you can't wait to see what it'll do, an entirely new building chain just because you picked up this character. I mean, you spent a bunch of gems to get access to this new thing, right? Surely it's at least useful. Wrong. You are wrong! Wrong! Upgrading farms into ranches removes the money-making ability of farms. Oh, and by the way, farms are your primary source of money. Ah! It's so insufferable. The fact that the game teaches you functionally nothing and then tries to make your experience worse is fucking insufferable. It would be such a better experience if shit was properly explained to you. I didn't even know what teleporters were, for instance. I mean, after you build one on a destroyed portal for the first time, you just look at it and it's like you use it, and it allows you to look around the map and you just think it's some sort of scouting feature. How am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to press down in order to activate its real feature? Or that if I put it in a blank plot of land, that it will give me an entrance portal build option, meaning that I can go back and forth. But none of this is taught to you. There's a million other examples like this. Workers not retreating after dark despite the fact that everyone else knows to. Even if you've given them the order to do it, it should be obvious that you don't want them to kill themselves. The fact that if you move islands and only bring one samurai, that one samurai and its archers that it governs aren't considered a part of the normal defenders on the new side of the island. Meaning that if you have a samurai on the left with 4 archers and I buy 4 more archers, 2 of them will go to the other side, as if they're not considered to have defenders there yet. How is that fair? This one problem caused me so much trouble on one island that I had to escape in order to live another day. It was getting that bad. Also, winter is so insufferable that you just have to leave the game open and go AFK. If winter is so bad and unnecessary that I can just walk away from the game, that's bad game design. Winter means that for 20 days or so, you pretty much struggle to make money in any way. Or you could just leave the computer until it ends and, I don't know, go watch a better YouTuber or something while you're at it. Don't Starve had it right when it came to winter. If you wanted to survive, you had to try and engage with it, not wait it out. The difficulty too is something I want to talk about. The game goes from being so easy that I played the game purely for its aesthetics to fucking darkest dungeon in like one island transition. Quite literally a welcome to hell moment. And once again, you're taught nothing, so you can't prepare for it unless you look up a guide or just know what you're doing because you're fucking omnipotent. Do I sound like I'm hating on this game? I mean, I am, but the game is honestly beautiful. It is a work of art at times. The soundtrack is also sublime, perfectly fitting with the setting. It's quite interesting too that you only have 4 buttons. Really just Shift, S and D to control the entire game and all of its elements, just by throwing money at people or things, which is why it's so infuriating when you upgrade a farm into a ranch. The alternate mounts offer much needed variety as well. However, in this situation you can once again fuck yourself over, as in the later islands when you unlock new mounts, they aren't necessarily better, but sometimes objectively and categorically worse, right? In every single way. In fact, did you know that mounts give you speed boosts if you let them do their little idle animation? That is never taught to me, not once. I went through the entire first playthrough and then the second one not knowing that until I looked it up in the guide. Once again, insufferable game design. I'm still angry that you have to wrestle with the AI, or that there's a lot of game design choices that will just fuck you over if you don't know how to avoid the pitfalls. Like how your farms can't expand past their farm plots if you have a wall blocking it. Every other structure is fine, but a wall? Nah, you can't farm past that. That means that a lot of your revenue is just down the shitter. All those farmers that you bought, guess what? They're not working. That farm that you upgraded, guess what? It's not working at max capacity. And you've ruined it. You can't destroy those walls. You can't get rid of them. That farm is now permanently stuck at 2 or 3 plots, meaning you're making half the amount of money that you were before. I recommend playing this game with a friend.
Look at that wonderful tower.
That's a good watchtower.
It's a co-op game. The problems honestly disappear if you know the basics, especially the ones you're not told. Like how the knights or samurai hold on to money and use them as lives instead of losing their job when attacked, or how beating the dockside portal will prevent enemies from spawning on that side. And you can even build a lighthouse so that returning to the island doesn't destroy your boat every single time. And there's even a decay system in the game, where if you're away from an island for too long, the island's arches and walls will just decay and disappear. And you're not told any of this. Also, you're not told that the lighthouse extends the decay time, making it even more useful. You just don't know it yet. Those tidbits, the tips and the notes that you get from just playing it, aren't even conveyed to you unless you use the guide. The trials and tribulations of the people who first played these games must have been so insufferable, picking up on every little nook and cranny and tip and trick just to get the game to work with you is painful as hell. Thank God for Steam guides. If I didn't have a guide, I would have burnt out of this game ages ago with how uselessly unhelpful it can be. When the game's good, it's great. But when the game's bad, it's so terribly bad that you'll just get pissed off, frustrated, and put it off. You'll uninstall it a week later when you need the space, even if it is only a few megabytes. For everything right it does, it will do something painfully wrong. And I mean painful in the most time-wasting way. I highly recommend playing it. It's so calming and peaceful and a fun game that it causes you to use your brain. The music, the sounds of the game are all very charming. There are also challenge islands for you extra masochistic people, but I'll review those in a later review as they each look pretty expansive in their own right. There's just too much to unpack with this video. Thank you for watching. I've been you, and thank you for letting me in.